Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. There was no live stream for me during the race this weekend. Very, very short story. Was away. I've been riding the thrill rides at Alton Towers over the weekend, and so I simply just haven't been around to do my usual live stream. However, I was back in time and did watch the race, although I wish I kind of hadn't. And the reason why it was, as per the title, it was a dull race. It was a boring race. It was a predictable race. And let's be honest, if this is the season, if this is how the season is going to go, it's going to be a long, boring, dull season. And I think F1 needs to, the FIA, the Formula One, they need to really look at how things are going, because these sort of, the way these races are going at the moment, they're the sort of things that ruin seasons in terms of its viewing numbers, in terms of excitement and entertainment. It's just totally mad at the moment. We've got where the Red Bulls are at the moment, they are the best part of at least a second a lap quicker than every other team on the grid. They are so far in front. It's not even, but some will say, well, that's good for Red Bull. Well done them. Well done, Red Bull. They've created a car that is super quick compared to everyone else's. They're also a team that overspent on its budget last year, and it was said by many teams, in fact, every team, barring Red Bull, funnily enough, last year said Red Bull's budget cap breach will give them an advantage this year. Tell me, what are we seeing at the moment? So, yes, there is some things that need to happen with Formula One and the FIA, and they need to sit around the table. They need to sit around the table and have a chat and to say, what can we do about this? Because quite simply, and the thing is, when there's a budget cap in place, it doesn't allow teams to catch up. This is the problem with a budget cap. This is the one problem. The budget cap's not. The budget cap is supposed to create an environment where all the teams are, should we say, within the realms of each other. No one's spending more than the others. But the problem we've got is, when we've got a team that's so far in front of everyone else, we need other teams to catch up, but they can't catch up because they're not allowed to spend to catch up. Do you know what I'm going with this? So it does require some thought out strategy by Formula One and the FIA to try and reach some sort of agreement in terms of allowing teams to perhaps spend a bit of money. I mean, I don't know. There's this how is it? Well, I'll tell you what the easiest way to resolve these issues, and that's to punish teams when they break the rules. Quite simply. Now, the other thing that has to be looked at as well, pardon me, is the relationship with the Alpha Tauris. There are some data, some rumors and some data to back that up in terms of the wind tunnel time spent between the two teams, and one team using its wind tunnel time to test for the other, and so on. And it's all very a little bit messy, a bit tricky. And I've said this every season, I say the same thing over again every season. Is it time that the FIA and Formula One say, no, you cannot have sister teams in Formula One? Should Red Bull be made to sell AlphaTauri? Should they be split and totally separated from each other? Because I think we are at that stage now where, it's almost hard to believe that rules haven't been broken. I'm at that point where have rules been broken? More than likely. Let's quickly look at the results, the full classification. Obviously, there's been a couple of changes to the initial standings, but we'll bring the official classifications up now. And as you can see, we've got Perez followed by Verstappen. Alonso was third when crossing the line. However, a penalty did mean that he fell down to fourth a 10-second penalty. So Russell actually got to the podium in third place. A good result for Mercedes, actually, and we'll come to this in a minute. Hamilton then followed by Sainz, Leclerc, Ocon, and Gasly. Magnussen and Tsunoda, even the Alpha Tails, by the way, found a decent start. Would you believe all that wind tunnel time they're doing for the Red Bull must be helping them. What a terrible day for McLaren, by the way. Again, another terrible. They are literally perhaps the slowest car, perhaps at the moment. Dare I say it? It's a toss-up, isn't it, between them and Williams, frankly. And I mean, you could argue the only reason Sargent has not finished in front of Oscar Pisari is just the fact that Oscar, I think, is the better driver. So the McLarens have got work to do. They've got upgrade packages coming, but they've got some work to do to get there yet. Now, one of the stories that hasn't really been picked up on for the race so far, and I'm sure it will over the course of the week, and I'm sure we'll all hear stories about. But Ferrari, they are. I mean, we said Mercedes. We thought, well, they don't going to look like they're going to be much this year. Well, look where Ferrari are. They're behind the Mercedes. They're behind the Mercedes fairly, by the way. There's been nothing controversial that's led to Ferrari being behind Mercedes there. They are just there because they're a bit slower than them this weekend. And that's the Mercedes with virtually zero downforce. They pulled off all their downforce for this weekend. So it's I mean, they've got some work to do. Everyone's got work to do. Yes, we know that. Alonso getting a very good, what would have been a very good third. He actually ended up finishing fourth because of a penalty. But there's no doubt that Aston Martin is perhaps slightly ahead of Mercedes. The thing is that there's not a lot in it. And you sort of feel that you're going to see a lot of races where you get Alonso, then Russell and Hamilton in some sort of order, and then Stroll. And then Alonso, then Russell and Hamilton, some sort of order, and Stroll. It seems to me, though, as though perhaps Aston Martin, if they don't secure second, or if they finish behind Mercedes in the constructors come the end of the season, it will purely be for the fact that they don't have two Alonsos in the car, frankly. So we'll see how that one's going to be an interesting one to develop. I mean, these are the only things we can look at really and talk about, because I can't talk about the race because nothing happened in it. Okay, there was Lance Stroll had to pull over, and it caused a safety car, and that was literally the highlight of the race. Literally the highlight of the race. Nothing else was there. I mean, from a racing perspective, listen to this. Max Verstappen on a straight line with DRS had as much as 17 miles per hour more speed than his opponent. I don't know how you can get a car to be that much quicker than its opponent and it be legal. I don't, and these are the things. How on earth are they getting such reduced drag? They've virtually no drag. That's where the speed is, literally the straight line speed. Because they are 17 miles an hour quicker than other cars down the straights with the DRS open, and even without DRS open, they close that gap quickly, very quickly. So, how are they reducing so much drag? I think is a question that every other team is trying to answer. That ultimately is where the Mercedes, the Ferraris, etc., the Aston Martins as well. They've got a problem with drag, and it was the same as last year. Last year, cars had problems with drag, so that's one. There's a question I think every team wants to know the answer to. Let's just have a quick look in terms of further down the table. As we know, Alex Albon retired. Bottas finishing last, but Bottas did have some issues. Speaking of issues, and it's a very good point actually, just reminded myself of Perez and Verstappen. Both of them, well, we know Verstappen had issues with gearbox related, apparently. He had his failure, which led to P15 start in the race. And during the race themselves, they kept reporting about one saying, "Oh, I've got problems," the other one saying, "I've got problems," and so on. And that really, they were still zooming off into the distance as part of these problems. Are they genuine problems? What do we think? Are these actually genuine problems? Are Red Bull, where the driver's genuinely looking at, I've got issues? or is this all just cover story? Is this all just trying to make out their cars? It's got it's got its fragileness about it, if you like, and so on. I think it's the latter. I think the car's got nothing wrong with it, to an extent, on the most part. And I think a lot of these calls are sort of bluffed with double bluffs and so on. And the reality is, I don't think they've got issues at all. If I'm being completely honest, and the data certainly doesn't suggest so. And that's what you go on, data. I'm not going to go on what they say. They can say what they like on the thing. They can sit there and say my leg's just fallen off and my accelerator is now plumbed up my arsehole. It doesn't matter what they say. It matters what the data says. And the data says that they're not struggling. Well, they didn't really have any issues at all. That's what the data tells us. So as I say, it was a boring race. Very little to talk about the race. All we can do really is talk about where we think each team may have a battle over the course of the season, but we can't continue down this line with these sort of races. We can't continue to have these sort of races weekend after weekend after weekend. It's going to be a very long, dull, and boring season if we get more races like we've had the last 2 weeks, both at Saudi Arabia and here in Saudi Arabia and Bahrain. So we'll have to wait till the next circuit. Perhaps we might be a bit surprised. It's another, I think it's Australia, isn't it? So it's another street circuit essentially. But I think Red Bulls are so far ahead. Does it matter? Does it really matter? It's like watching a football game and knowing what the conclusion is going to be, and it not even be, there's not even a hint of, oh well, but what if there was something happened this week, or what if it wasn't this week, and so on. It's just. I wasn't excited. I was there. I am riding the Smiler, and the last thing on my mind was, oh my goodness, I better get back in time to watch the Saudi Grand Prix, because we knew where it was going. We all knew where it was going today. So, and there you have it. Anyway, I hope you all enjoy the week. I will have a couple of videos to come up over the course of the week, so keep an eye out for those. But yeah, like I say, boring race, dull, disinteresting. What more can I say? Until then, take care, and I'll see you all again soon.